As we wait to Jim Salisbury coming in. Here he is.
Hey, guys.
Right in. Look at that. The smiling face of one Jim Salisbury, the man who runs a podcast called The Philly Show, also columnist for PHLY. How you doing, Jim? I haven't seen you in a while.
Yes, I'm doing well. Good to see you, Mike. Good to see you, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we were just talking about the Adolis Garcia acquisition, and Anthony is not that high on it. I want to ask you your opinion on what the Phillies have done here.
I guess I'm sort of more like a to be determined if I'm high on it. See what happens. I know he had that one good year, that great year in 23, 39 home runs, 107 RBIs, 22 postseason RBIs. But yeah, the last two seasons have been, red flags. Hasn't done much at all. Certainly hasn't, has hit a little bit of power. I think he had 20 some odd home runs and then 19, but a lot of swing and miss, a lot of chase, a lot of strikeouts. The on base percentage dreadful, OPS in the mid 600s. So, 2 years to me is a trend. Is he really gonna, if he plays to that level in 2026? Yeah, it's not a good thing. So, but I think for $10 million, and I think that was probably they really all had the only. I think that's what they had budgeted in the outfield because they have other areas they want to spread their money. That's what you get for $10 million. You get a bounce back candidate who people have question marks about. I do think this. I think in this ballpark he can wake up and hit 23 to 26 home runs, and I do think he'll play good defense. So, I think there'll be some pluses. I don't think it's all doom and gloom, but. Yeah, if he gives you another 600 OPS and he swings at everything, then he's not going to solve your right-handed bat problem. But I do think he can give you some power and some good defense. And I guess I'll just reserve judgment to see what happens with maybe new voices as a hitting coach, different environment, change of scenery. There are some qualities that are promising. He hits the ball hard, but the contact rate it can be troubling and the chase can be troubling. So kind of we'll see, Yeah,
it's funny. He hits the ball hard and yet his bat speed is down. So I don't know what that seems like.
He's a very strong man.
Yeah, I know he's strong.
My question about it though, Jim, is that look, I look at it and I see, is it an upgrade over Castellanos in right field? Yes, because of his defense, right? That alone, even if he's profiles about the same offensively, it's a marginal upgrade. But is it too marginal? Like when you look at the lineup and you see that they aren't really making any other major change. I mean, other than Justin Crawford is now going to play probably in center field, as Dave told you when you asked the question in the press conference the other day. Is it enough of a change from what they've had in the last couple of years to sit there and go, oh yeah, well, this is going to be better? Or is it just more of the same?
It's probably not enough of a change if he's the same guy he was last year.
Yeah.
If there's improvement, which they think he can, show, then it might be enough of a change. But, I just don't know. We're gonna have to find out. I would have loved to have seen the right-handed bat beat Bo Bichette, but it doesn't seem to be in the budget for a team that's going to be over $300 million again. So I will remind you of this. I know there's a lot of, criticism about the offense, but they were in a lot of categories last year, top 5.
Yeah.
Now, I don't expect Schwarber to hit 56 every year. So, but I still think there's much to like about this offense, but they need Aroldis Chapman. I do that all the time. Adolis Garcia.
Adolis Garcia.
Adolis Garcia to be closer to what he was in 23. I'm not sure he can be, but closer to what he was. I mean, you can't live with an OPS in the 6s.
Yeah. Well,
they need more from Harper, and they need, Turner to have another good year and Schwarber to have another good year because the clock is ticking here and you need all those guys. So I wish I had a crystal ball and could tell you that Garcia was going to be a great signing. I can't. I understand it. I understand what they're thinking. I understand what they're, kind of banking on. they're hoping for in terms of the improvement, but I'm not sure it's going to come. We will find out. I do think there is something to what they talked about the other day about not trying to do too much, and maybe, having a Harper around in the lineup, a stud player like that with big reputation, maybe having the NL batting champ and the NL home run champ, maybe will convince him I don't have to do too much, but he's going to have to lay off pitches off the plate because teams are so good at game planning for guys who chase.
You know what's going to happen as soon as he does that. Like frightening nightmares of Castellanos coming back. That's what people are going to think right away.
It was very productive when at points in his 4 years here. But gosh, I can still see those hanging breaking balls and kind of those backup sliders that he would spin on and just kill.
Yeah.
But when it would break off the plate, it could get ugly. So I don't know what's going to happen. They're going to have to convince him to swing at strikes, and when it's not a strike, take your walk. But it's very hard to do. It's very hard to get a guy to change his ways when he's been, when it's been so ingrained in him, because, when the heat is on, you're going to revert back to what you do,
Yep.
And when you're in the batter's box and the heat is on, you kind of, what you've been doing for a long time will come out. It's really, really, that's why Schwarber, I think, the improvements he's made in the batter's box over the last 3 or 4 years has been kind of very impressive.
Talk to me about Brad Keller. They give him 2 years, $22 million. Big leap of faith to be a setup guy for Duran. Are you feeling good about this one?
Yeah, I am. Where you're looking for a bounce back or kind of gambling or hoping for a bounce back from Garcia, I think Keller's already had that bounce back. He's had that change of role, gone from, in the last couple of years, gone from a starter, middling starter, to a pretty good right-handed reliever. I think he's found his niche. As often happens when guys make that conversion, it unlocks a little more velocity, and you've seen that on his fastball. And teams these days love guys that can make the ball move, laterally with the sweeper and the slider. And he's got good ones. He gets that ball to move away from right-handers. And that's something they need. They really wanted a guy who could get right-handers out. He's kind of death on righties. And I think don't you agree, Anthony? Him and Alvarado will be the delivery men to Duran. And that's not bad.
And here's the interesting thing, the way I look at it, Jim, and I want to kind of get your take on this. So obviously they wanted to upgrade velocity in the bullpen, right? I mean, they didn't have that at the end of the year last year.
There were a lot of 91s down there.
Yeah. All right. So now you look at the back of the bullpen and you see Duran as your closer, and you see Keller and Alvarado, right? And Kirkering can still throw with some velocity. The kid that they just got in the Rule 5 that they're going to take a gamble on, and that McCambly kid from Florida, like he could throw that way as well. Does that open up Matt Strahm to be shipped out of here at this point because of how many guys you have at the back end of the bullpen now that can throw with velocity?
Well, we've been talking about that since the season ended, that he could be a trade candidate. And I think it's very possible. When I first saw Keller get $11 million a year, I was like, okay, where are they getting this from? Because, they're right up against it. JT, they got a budget for JT. Schwarber and JT, likely the two big expenditures. Where are they getting it? I'm thinking, okay, this could mean they move a Strahm. We've heard enough chatter about that to believe that possibility is real. And I think the other piece of that math would be the exercising of Alvarado's option. So you have big lefty coming back, maybe. Alvarado's your big lefty in high leverage, and Banks is your other lefty, a little bit toward the middle innings, and it would make Strahm expendable. I think they probably needed a right-hander more than they needed that left-hander, given their current personnel. So, yeah, I think he's very much in play. It wouldn't surprise me to see him stay, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit to see him be on the move. So
what's he make right now? Is it what, seven and
seven
a
and a
half?
half? Yeah,
7.5 guy.
And what do you think his value is in a trade, Jim? Like, what are you getting back for a Matt Strahm?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know.
Infielder?
I'm sorry.
Utility infielder? Right-handed bat off the bench? I don't know. What could you get?
It's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Depends, how that team values him and what they want to give up. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't give him away. I think he's had a pretty good run here.
Yeah.
But I think there would be some value in clearing that $7.5 million because you have some depth on the left side. So,
and maybe you look at it this way too, Jim. Like, we know that they have a few top end prospects. Obviously, they're the guys that are close to being major league ready. But then beyond that, their next crop of prospects are, down in single A. There's not that middle group, right? And so maybe a middle group prospect.
I would take. You know what? I have an answer for you now.
Yeah.
We're looking at this dance they're doing with JT Realmuto at a crucial position, and he's obviously going to be 34 next year. And I don't see a long-term solution at a premium position coming. I might trade him for, I don't think anybody's going to give up like a blue chip catching prospect, but really dig into some other teams' farm systems and find the best teenage catching prospect that you think you can get, that a team is not going to make off limits. So I would like some catching.
Yeah.
Because they got to.
Not bad.
I want to get a guy who can catch for me for 8 to 10 years.
So you're going to sign JT for 3-4 years and have this guy be the apprentice, and then he's going to be the next guy.
And like, if there's a blue chip catcher or a top 100 catcher, you're probably not going to get him. But this is where you have to really rely on your pro scouts to dig into somebody's farm system and go out and get me a catcher you can really dream on. Maybe that would be it.
Jim, we talked a little earlier about the platoon now in left field that they're going to have. If Crawford's your starting center fielder, the platoon is Marsh and whomever, whether that's Kemp or Wes Wilson or whatever. How do you see that working out?
Probably Marsh with Kemp being, the right-handed half of that platoon, because Marsh just hasn't hit lefties enough, and then if you can combine them together and get some decent production, you might be all right. They're really eager to see what Kemp can do. He's hitting the minor leagues. He played hurt a lot last year. They think he's made, when he went down and came back up, made some good adjustments. Everybody loves his makeup. Anthony knows him. He's a really good guy. He's a gamer. He's tough, tough kid. They could end up being short in the outfield again. If Garcia doesn't produce, because you got a rookie in center field who has hit 300 at every level, but is not really a slug guy, and they have questions about how much he hits the ball on the ground, and he's just going to have natural growing pains. Every rookie has, except for Mike Trout. Every rookie has growing pains, and he's very, very young. He's going to be there. If he's their center fielder, which excuse me, barring Harrison Bader being out there on like February 5th and taking a 1-year deal, I see Crawford as being their center fielder. And on opening day, he'll be the youngest Phillies position player opening day starter since Scott Rowland in '97. That's a pretty good chunk of time.
Yeah.
So he's going to be young. He's going to have some growing pains. Not sure what you're going to get from him offensively. Marsh improved a lot last year against righties. We'll see what we get there. See if that's a decent platoon. But they were a middling offense in the outfield last year, the production they got. And it could be middling again. A lot depends on what they get out of Garcia. A lot depends on if they get some improvement out of Marsh facing right-handers and what Kemp gives them against left-handers, and whatever you can get from Crawford at the bottom of the lineup, it to me would be gravy, as long as he doesn't get buried and as long as he can contribute and kind of move the line a little bit. I'll take that. But they could be again looking for offense at the trade deadline, but who knows? Right now, I think they're willing to kind of give this thing a shot out there. And the one guy, like I said, I think there's like a 0.5% chance Bader, if he doesn't get the 3-year deal, multi-year deal he's looking for, and he's out there as spring training is knocking on the door, maybe you say, you take a 1-year deal, I'll take a 1-year deal. All right, come on back. We'll move Crawford to left. But
and how much would that cost them on a 1-year deal?
Well, I don't know. And it depends what they were able to free up and what they have left after addressing this catching situation. Because
where are they right now in the payroll? 308?
They project to be over. They were about that last year. I think they were 313 on the luxury tax payroll, and they project to be over 300 again this year, and they're not done. So
yeah, here's one I have for you, Jim, because I think that this is an interesting thing with the Phillies. Is it possible that because they want to make inroads with Japanese players, and I know that we're getting close to the end of the posting period for the big names that have been posted already, do they potentially have something in reserve that might go beyond that 308 or 313 if they could get one of those guys just so that they can break that glass ceiling and get their first Japanese player?
Well, so it depends how good that player is and how much it costs. That I don't know if you want to, have a major expenditure just to have a footprint over there. Right. I want to have a, gosh darn contributor. Right. I don't know that they're in on any of these Japanese guys.
Okay.
But that said, if you never know, one lingers. And I've learned watching this team for a long time that they do react to opportunity. Like going way back, they had a budget going into like 2002 or 2003. They had this one budget, but they had a different budget if they thought they could get Jim Thome. So opportunity. And we saw it just a few years ago in spring of 2022. When they were in spring training, they got Schwarber, and all of a sudden Castellanos is still out there, and Dombrowski went to ownership and said, hey, we got this opportunity to get this right-handed bat. And they found a way to come up with $20 million per year. So
he's a crab fry for $18.
If there's an opportunity, you never know, but they do have a lot of money wrapped up in this team. And I don't know how much higher they can go. They need the guys who are making all that money to produce.
Yeah.
And
Jim, always a pleasure to have you on. We really appreciate you coming on. And, since your days are leisurely now,
not that leisurely.
Yeah, you're trying to kill hours. I get it.
No, I'm not. You're the man of leisure, belonging to all those country clubs.
Oh, yeah. The bill always comes due, though. That's the problem. All right, Jimmy, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you down the road.
Hey, Ant, go Flyers.
Yeah, not bad, huh? They're playing good hockey, huh? They're playing some good hockey, huh?
Took a big one up in LaBelle Province the other night.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Happy holidays, man.
Take care,
you as
Jimmy.
well, Jimmy.
Happy holidays. There he is, Jim Salisbury, ladies and gentlemen.